Hey, what is up? It is Drew Berman. Happy to be here. DrewBerman.com. Our first podcast. Very, very exciting. This is part of the Go All In series, and where we will be teaching and training and helping and facilitating in tax planning, financial savings, retirement plan strategies, how to think bigger, do more, how to create powerful partnerships, grow teams, a lot. So let's get to know each other over the next couple days, couple weeks. Drew Berman here from New York, but I'm still a nice person, and started my career. Gosh, I've been in sales, marketing, business development, training since the 90s. High school in New York City. Fun fact, worked at Shea Stadium back in the day selling hot dogs. That was fun. That's where the Mets play. And then went to college in Washington, D.C., but also studied in Spain. During those times, I got a chance to obviously learn Spanish, but I studied marketing and communications. And in college, I worked at TGI Fridays. Now that was really fun because at Fridays, we were conditioned to wow the people, wow the family, wow the companies that came in, wow the clients, and nobody wanted to work with the students. And the students were able to pay at Fridays on their meal card. And a lot of the other staff didn't want to work with students, but I was a student, I was a senior, I was president of the I was social chairman of the fraternity. So when the students would come in, I would ask for all of the students. And guess what? I made sure they had a great time, and they tipped. And they tipped well because it was super fun. But I learned a really great life lesson when I was at Fridays. We had the opportunity to give away cards, app cards, appetizer cards, dessert cards, entree cards, to solve a challenge. If someone came and had a challenge with their meal, they weren't happy for whatever reason, we had the permission to give away a dessert card, an appetizer card, a meal card for them to come back. And I said, what if someone has a really great time? They have an exceptional birthday, they have a lot of fun with their waiter, they have a really fun meal. Can we reward? Good news. Can we add on to their great experience with a gift for something free? And it got sent to corporate and it got approved. So that was a really cool lesson back in the day about wowing your client and wowing and creating awe. And because good isn't good enough anymore, right? Just doing good isn't good enough. Doing your best isn't even good enough. You got to do whatever it takes. That's what's going on in the world today. So Fridays was a really amazing experience for me because they gave me a Fridays passport, and I got the opportunity to travel all over the country and work at other TGI Fridays. And I would pick up shifts in Washington, D.C., New York, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Florida, New Orleans, and it was exceptional. So that was kind of like my first taste into the working world. But then in college, after studying in Spain, I lived in Florence, Italy, and I sold leather jackets on the market. And that was really fun because I was 20, 21, 22, and there were career jacket salesmen that sold, Italian guys that actually would sell at the market. But all of that summer, a lot of the people that came to the market were American tourists who were college students. So I connected with them as an American, and I made stacks and stacks and stacks of lira back in the day when Italy had lira as the currency. So I got to learn those skills early on, and then I took a public speaking course in college and always fell in love with being in front of the room. I found it to be the most impactful. And when I worked at Shea Stadium, I got to project my voice, to people close and to people in the stadium. So I learned these skills, which brought me to my first career, which was what Zig Ziglar did. My first job after college was selling pots and pans. I was selling cookware to brides. And the joke was they either called me the pot guy No, not what you're thinking. The pot guy or the pan man. And we started selling china, crystal, and cookware into brides and homes as an investment, and we got into the bridal industry. So I started doing bridal expos. And that was really good because I got to meet all the other vendors and I got to see how they did business, the musicians, the DJs, the bands, the China Crystal Cookware, which was us, the florists, the event coordinators, the hotels. So I kind of fell in love with event as a concept, as a business. So I worked that for many years. And then the bridal industry got competitive within our own cookware business. So I was in New York City and there was a booth at the Gay and Lesbian Business Expo. Now I'm a straight dude, but I thought, okay, this will be fun. And I actually worked the Gay and Lesbian Expo, the Business Expo. And for the next maybe 2 years, I worked and sold not China crystal cookware, but water filters, juicers, and cookware, healthy eating and living, specifically in the gay homes for a year or two. And they loved me. I loved them. They knew I was straight. We had a lot of fun. But from a marketing perspective, they were called DINKs, double income, no kids. So I started to learn kind of like business strategy from cookware into the bridal industry, into a very segmented gay and lesbian business community. But I fell in love with the gay community. It was just a lot of fun for me. It was very vibrant. And I signed up for a bike ride because my uncle had died of AIDS. And this is in the 90s. And I signed up for the Tanqueray, Gin Tanqueray, did a fundraiser. And I bought a bike and I rode from Boston to New York. It was called the Boston to New York Tanqueray AIDS Ride. So I started fundraising for that, and I ended up doing 4 of them. 2 were Boston to New York, 1 was New York to Boston, and then 1 was North Carolina to DC. They did them all over the country, but I did 4 of them. And over a couple years, I raised about $10,000 for AIDS services in the 90s, in my 20s. And that was a very fascinating lesson because fundraising is very challenging. But I turned it into fundraising, and now I'm mixing a lot of different energies as I'm growing in the business, and I'm young 20s, right? So I'm merging what I learned from sales and phone to what I learned from Fridays and customer service to what I learned in Italy, which was kind of using my body in traffic, connecting with people walking in a very active, outdoor flea market selling leather jackets. But then Shea Stadium taught me how to kind of project my voice, and then working in the gay and lesbian community taught me how to work with different people with different interests and different likes. And then through fundraising, I got to learn the power of the ask and how to properly frame things and how to grow a business without being an ask hole, because no one likes an ask hole. So I learned a lot of skills in the 90s. But then I got not necessarily bored with cookware, but I was only connecting with brides and gay men, and I kind of wanted to, meet straight women and start dating. And my life changed when I got into real estate. So someone told me that real estate was a good business, and I left cookware and I got into real estate. I interviewed 5 or 7 companies. They all offered me a job, which I thought was fascinating, because now I'm going into commission-only sales in New York City, and it was a very fast-paced market. We had a 5,000 square foot office, and phones would ring and people would be looking for an apartment that was advertised, and they wanted to meet at the apartment. But our rule was come into the office. So I had to learn at a young age that we were in charge. We were the professionals. We guided people to their apartments, and you were going to come to the office. but I want to meet at the apartment. This is the apartment I want. I want to meet at the apartment. That's great. The apartment may or may not work for you. We have to see if you qualify. Let's meet at the office. No, I want to meet at the apartment. This is the only apartment I want. And I learned the hard way. I would go meet some people at the apartment. They would oftentimes no-show. They would oftentimes not be qualified. And I learned the expression, it's a little icky, but I learned the expression that buyers are liars. And I didn't really know what that meant until I realized that they don't lie on purpose, but they don't know what they don't know. And me as a professional, I had to guide them properly to a very fast New York apartment. And we learned the expression co-broke. If you co-broke deals, you'll do more deals than if you did the deals alone. Meaning mathematically, if I split a deal, I could do more than 2 deals in the same amount of time if I took 50% of the deal. So if I could do 3 or more deals with a partner in the same amount of time that I can do deals on my own, mathematically, it was better to co-broke than go broke. So I started to learn partnerships and how to create teams. And I ended up working with some of the senior agents because we had to get people's finances in order before we would go out and show apartments. Now, here's some math for fun. In order to qualify for an apartment in New York City back then, you had to show that you were earning at least 40 times the rent. So if the rent was $1,000, you have to prove you were making $40,000. If the rent was $2,500 times 40, you had to prove you were earning 100 grand. And New York real estate was really fast. And I found this lady, she was an incredible senior agent, and we worked really well together. She would get all the paperwork together. She would get all the finances together. She would deal with the landlords and know which apartments took dogs and which apartments took bad credit. And then I would show the apartments. So I would go around all 4 seasons, New York City, sweating in the summer, freezing in the winter, climbing up landscapes, finding keys under mats, not finding supers. And we had a ball. It was a blast. I ended up marrying her. She was incredible. Her name is Corey. We're still married together today, 21 years later. Imagine that. I'm still with my first wife. And during the 90s, that was when I was in my 20s, post-college, post-Madrid, post-George Washington University. But because I got into bike riding, I got introduced to Odyssey 2000. It was a 20,000 mile, 200 person, 35 country, 6 continent, year-long bike ride around the world. And I found out about it in 96. I signed up in 97. And I went all in. And from 97, 98, 99, I prepared to leave and ride a bicycle around the world. And it was incredible. We started in LA, we went to San Diego, down to Baja, Mexico. From Baja, we flew to Costa Rica. Yes, with the ride included 18 international flights. It included breakfast and dinner for a year. It included all the sleeping arrangements, an 18-wheeler to carry our gear, and a massage therapist, a mechanic, a bicycle, and nothing else. Breakfast and dinner for a year, sleeping for a year, 18 international flights, a bicycle, a mechanic, a massage therapist, an 18-wheeler to carry our gear, a daily route guide, a sag wagon, support and gear, and that was it. So I make everybody guess how much that cost. So guess how much that cost, and if you guess right, you win a prize. What's the prize? Probably one of my new books. We'll talk about Go All In a minute. So I always ask people 3 things, and people always like to guess. It's fun. It's fun for me. How much do you think it cost? How many people out of 200 do you think did EFM? Every freaking mile. Every bleep. Every F bleep mile. How many out of 200? Because we had a very lenient sign in, sign out policy where you can sign out of the ride and they were no longer responsible. If you were in the ride, they were responsible for your sleeping, mostly your safety, your breakfast and your dinner, and the support van would take your gear, and the airline flights, right? So I always ask people, what was the average age? Remember, this is the year 2000, 200 of us, 20,000 mile bike ride. How much did it cost? I told you what it included. And how many people did every mile? So email me if you got those guesses, drewaberman@gmail.com. I always love talking about Odyssey 2000. It's my favorite topic. So we started in LA, went to San Diego to Baja, Baja to Costa Rica to Panama, Panama to Chile, Chile to Argentina, Argentina to Buenos Aires, to, I think it was at that point, Johannesburg. Johannesburg, we rode 30 days along the coast to Cape Town to Greece, 2 months in Europe, back to the States, New York to Montreal, Montreal to Quebec City, back to Europe. We did Finland and Russia and Scotland and Finland and Norway and Ireland, and then back into Western Europe, through the wine country, Germany, Austria, all the way down to Australia, year 2000, Sydney Olympics. It was amazing. And then 2 months in Asia, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, China, Japan, and back home. And it was amazing. And I tasted freedom. Nothing like a 70-mile bike ride with 70-degree weather, with tailwind and nothing but road. I mean, it was just amazing. And then I was like, all right, now what am I going to do? So I tried to get back into real estate. I just couldn't figure out my niche. And then I was at a BNI, Business Networkers International. And a guy said to me, you seem like a sharp guy. Are you the type of guy that keeps options open for additional streams of income? And I said, yeah. And he gave me a CD. I listened to it, made sense. And I ended up in a company called Quickstar, which was a new derivative and version of Amway. Now, I didn't know Amway was a curse word. It was a little bit past its prime, and I didn't make any money for 5 years. And I got listened to the tapes and the CDs and the books and the mentors, but I just couldn't make it work, and we had to hang up the hat. We did a network marketing intervention, which we talk about in my first book, and I got a job selling advertising. So now I'm really tweaking my skills. I'm learning sales, I'm learning marketing, I learned real estate, I learned commission over the mission, and then I got deeply involved in peak performance and business development. Peak Potentials, Landmark, Tony Robbins, Jeffrey Combs, Ray Higdon. I was in $50,000 masterminds. I was trying to really figure out. And then I became one of 10 out of 15,000 that Peak Potentials, T. Harv Eker, they hired me. And this was the fastest growing business development training company of the time in the early 2000s. And they had very high level mastermind retreats. They were very famous for Warrior Camp, 5-day boot camp, where you were just like in the woods, my word is law, whatever it takes, conquer. And we walked on fire. Now, Tony Robbins had made the Firewalk famous, but I learned at Peak Potentials. After Warrior Camp, we did Wizard Camp. Wizard, which is more Zen, more allow, and the yin yang of Warrior Wizard, do whatever it takes, versus allow, gave me a lot of perspective. And when they hired me, I had the opportunity to train and coach back of room sales selling $35,000 tickets. So this was in my young years. This was in my development years, and I had a unique niche. I was learning communications and marketing in school. I was learning sales in real estate and advertising. I was learning peak performance in the business development arena, and I fell into the speaker, author, coach world, and I was able to merge it all together when I found my second company. And my second company was called Isagenix, and I nailed it and scaled it. I was able to recruit over 1,000 people, grow the team globally to 15,000 people, and I helped the company expand around the world. Helped them open in multiple countries, and I sat on the field advisory board. And I saw the difference between what corporate was teaching and what the field was doing. So I wrote my first book, You Can Have It All, and that's when I started in the world of peak performance and business development. So in the next week, what we're going to talk about is from there what happened. We're going to start the story when I got engaged in the world of peak performance and my businesses started to take off. I started writing books, I started speaking, and we're going to talk about what happened in my career with Isagenix, how I learned people skills, how I learned to grow business, how I learned how to incorporate it with peak performance and personal development. And I cannot wait to see you on the next video. Drew Berman, drewberman.com, where right now we help people protect what's most important: their family, their home, their business, their retirement plan. I got a lot of great stories to share with you. I am so excited to be doing this podcast with you. Episode number 1, you made it. See you next time. Bye for now.